Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashley.
Now, Anglo American is calling the global climate crisis something that exceeds anything seen in centuries.
And I think that we should put this emphasis on it. I find too much flippancy around this climate change, both domestically and internationally. You'll have some of the bigger companies really, because of their shareholders, a lot of that, heading in the right direction and doing what is important for what is critical. I mean, we're now going through, the coronavirus, and this is nothing like what could hit us with climate change. And the coronavirus has focused our mind, but it hasn't focused all the minds. And you need to really emphasize this. That's why I was so glad, that Mark Cutifani of Anglo American, in his presentation to the Bank of America, he set this off and he spelt it out as being really momentous, something that the whole world has got to follow. And I see, even the International Energy Agency pleading with people not to go ahead with fossil fuel, but they won't stop. Countries are, I see just going ahead. Domestically, you see people just going ahead. So that penny has got to drop. And unless the state sort of emphasizes that this is ultra important, and you can't have anyone going against the rules, because that is really unfair. So you're going to benefit from the majority of people, but you're still going to carry on with your business. I know that there's certain things that have to continue, but don't start putting in new investments into new mines, into new gas, into new oil. That, I think, is really, cocking a snook at the world. And I don't think we should do that. And that's why I was so pleased that Anglo American's Mark Cutifani came through with it. He spelled it out, how serious this is. But of course, there's a huge positive to it. There's massive opportunities, for companies that are putting in the minerals and metals that is going to be essential for all the wind energy, the sun energy, the storage of the energy, the mobility of people, and how you have to get those metals and minerals in there to make that world green and clean. And, as he spelt out, mining is a slither of the big picture of what happens to our world's habitable ground. Mining at about 0.04% is really small. And you see the encouragement of people to go underground now is important. I don't think those open cast mines in areas where there are glaciers, and I've seen it, I've been to South America, and you see this massive open cast mine with a glacier melting in the distance. I mean, that should not be allowed. And I know that there are moves in Chile, where I was, to say to them, guys, you've got to go underground. And the people are wanting to go underground and stop that activity, which has been going on for a long time. People didn't know at that stage, but they know now. And you see the younger generation, with their protests saying, don't do this to our glaciers. Well, that's just an example. It's got to spread right through the world. Now, this climate change is absolutely, essentially in need of mitigation, and we've all got to do it.
Now, there is a strong call for unemployed geology graduates to capture historic exploration data. Can you tell us about that?
I'm so impressed with a lot of the geologists in South Africa. And, LEI Advisory came through with this situation where, if you look at LinkedIn, you see all these unemployed geologist graduates. I mean, there's nothing worse than graduating in some, this pursuit, and then you can't get a job in that field. So you have to go and do something else, which defeats the whole object. We really need geologists in South Africa. We're going to need top geologists. Without geologists, we will no longer have a mining industry, because we see that geology has always been neglected in South Africa, because of our huge ore bodies, the Witwatersrand Basin, and, the PGM complex, that Bushveld complex, so huge. The mining bosses just say, let the engineers do it. Forget about the geologists. And then they used to put shafts in the wrong place, and, shafts in areas that didn't even have any ore. They made muck-ups because they left it to the engineers. You can't. These days, you owe it to the world to have geologists in there all the time, following your every move to see that you're doing the right thing. And you're making the best of what is a national patrimony. It's our ore. The people of South Africa ultimately own that. The mines are just there as contractors for a period to get that out, and they've got to get it out responsibly. So, this call for these geologists to go in there and to put electronically all the historic information about our ore bodies, about our geology, is absolutely essential. And I don't see response from the government. I don't see response from the Department of Mineral Energy and Resources. I see other things happening that, feel which way you're going here, So I think the DMRE now must follow this LEI Advisory's advice and get these young graduates in to capture that information electronically so that everybody can benefit it. And the geologists there are doing what they want to do there. They're seeing where all our wealth is in the ground. They're looking at our history. They're seeing where the potential is. So I don't think there should be any hesitation in that. But I get disturbed. Like when I hear a report yesterday that, you can't get any response out of the DMR&E because they've run out of toner and paper. They have run out of toner and paper. Now, come on. So, and people say, okay, well, we'll give you the toner and we'll give you the paper. And they say, no, we can't take that. We're not allowed to take that from you. So in other words, their budgets are so badly managed that they're not even seeing to toner and paper. I mean, how can we carry on like that? And I remember once going to the Department of Trade and Industry decades ago. And the DG said to me, I've got to go home. I said, why? He said, we've run out of toner in our copying machines. I said, but why don't you get more? No, he said, you've got to apply through so much red tape. Now, we see all the things that go on in these departments, yet they can't get toner and paper. I mean, certainly that needs to be exposed and shouted from the high heavens. Do it, guys.
And lastly, Martin, the PGMs opportunities coming out of the hydrogen economy is being compared to the 90s emission boost.
Yeah, I used to deal with Anglo American Platinum and JCI, the old Johannesburg Consolidated Investments, when they were deep in platinum group metals, and you used to go in there and they would talk to you about marketing. That's when I realized that these metals have to be marketed. They wouldn't give you any other details because at that stage there was such a lot of tension between the various mining groups. They shared nothing. Thankfully it's changed, but not completely. And so you see that at that stage, I was in the office with Barry Davison when Ford came through and said they're switching to palladium from platinum, because the palladium was cheaper. It was one hell of a shock. But it was all about this new emissions legislation, because cities could not tolerate exhaust fumes, polluting their people and polluting their cities. So they had to create some sort of standards where your exhaust fumes would be neutralized with the help of platinum group metals, so your cars could travel through there without putting all the terrible smells into the city. But it became intense. And when Europe came along and China came along and they kept on turning the screws in the 90s, it was a major demand boost for platinum. But the platinum people weren't ready. That's why we have a situation where, there's too little rhodium, there's too little palladium. I mean, nonsense. What is wrong with our people? Can't they actually plan this thing properly? This is a long-term vision. Don't they go in and speak to the supply chain? I mean, they should be with them all the time. So we see now that with hydrogen, it's going to be like another huge step change. Now, hopefully, the industry is going to be prepared for it this time. Let them have no excuses that there's not enough iridium, because there's going to be huge demand on iridium. And when we have those electrolyzers out there, and we use the PEM electrolyzer, and you take that green electricity from the sun and the wind, and you put it through seawater or dirty water, or whatever water you've chosen. The one side needs platinum, the other side needs iridium, and we know that iridium is scarce. What are they doing about it now? And are they planning something that you might be able to switch away from iridium to another platinum group metals? Are they working on that? Because if they're not, they are not proper custodians of our platinum group metals. And we've seen in the past how they've really failed. I mean, if you see a price spike like that, the guys have been falling asleep at their desk. They haven't been talking to the people. I know that the Volkswagen scandal caught a lot by surprise, but then you've got to move, man. You've got to say, well, it's going off diesel, it's not going to be on platinum now, they're going to go for palladium. What are we going to do about it? And work at it like that. And, the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy must be there as well. Zimbabwe must be there, because otherwise, the Russians will take it, or the North Americans will take it. We've got to be wide awake here. And I think, coming through this week, was a message from Sibanye Stillwater's Richard Stewart that he's going to be wide awake, that he's really going to have that candle burning to see, and he's going to be talking to everybody because they don't want to be caught in that situation again where, you know, the whole platinum group metals industry is put at risk because you can't say I'm going to mine iridium on its own. You've got to mine all of them. So what are you doing about marketing, that big marketing? And we know that platinum can be used in so many situations. They must make sure. Palladium, rhodium, ruthenium. Now we're going to have, just now they're going to say there's too much ruthenium. Because, you know, when you use the hydrogen, if it's dirty hydrogen, you need the ruthenium. So just now they're going to say, oh, we got too much ruthenium. Hopefully not, because there are a lot of other uses for ruthenium. So I think they need to be wide awake about marketing. And that was the first impression I got when I used to go to the old Johannesburg Consolidated Investments, and that, you know, then became Anglo American Platinum. You know, they were just marketing guys. They'd sit you down. That's all they would talk to you about.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.